Honestly, guys, the market is looking pretty scary right now. We're having something crazy go on in the market that hasn't happened since the recession in 2008. In this video, we're going to go over what is going on in the stock market right now, what to know for tomorrow, some of the best stocks we're watching, and at the end of today's video, we have basically a $500,000 options trade by some whale or hedge fund. So stick with us today. We have a lot to cover. Like I said, the market is starting to get scary.
Yeah, it definitely is, Mike. And the first thing I really wanted to cover today was Tesla's movement. It ended up still going down at market open and then kind of consolidating there, closing down 6.65%. So we did not see that recovery back up. It did end up staying low, and it is approaching that $200 support down there. So watch out for that. But getting into the SPY, it is at a key support right now, Mike, right around 365. We can see there's a key bounce right here today towards the end of the day. We had a key bounce there earlier in the week, and there's been a lot more bounces there in the past as well. But Mike, I'm very curious heading into tomorrow if we're going to end up breaking down and out of this type of range that we've been in. You know, like I said, we've had multiple bounces here around 365. We even got pretty close yesterday at 365 too. It came within about 62 cents of it there. So still almost held up, but still a pretty big range there. I'm curious if we end up falling out or if we're going to bounce back up and maybe start to retest some of these higher levels to end the week and then starting the week next week. But terrible move today, Mike, by the SPY. It initially seemed pretty good at open. A lot of stocks were running and we were actually able to capitalize off some pretty good calls in the morning. But nonetheless, the SPY fell through this wedge and ended up falling right back down. And I will note, it was almost the same wedge type patterns yesterday.
Exactly. So what was weird about today and slightly alarming is, like you said, Tom, the market actually tried to run up at open, but it got to like the SPY got to like 372.60, and it was just like a brick wall. Like the second it touched that, it just sank right back down, and it just like happened like out of nowhere, right? And the main reason for this has to do with treasuries and yields. So basically what we're seeing in the market right now is we are having all sorts of yields, whether it's the 10-year, 30-year, 5-year, 1 year, any yield you can imagine is exploding. Right now, the US 10-year yield is currently at 4.23%. And the main reason this is so concerning is that these yields are rising quicker than they basically ever have before. And if we continue to see this explosive movement, it will directly impact stock valuations today in a bad way. It'll make mortgages more expensive, and it just slows down the entire economy. And we have not seen the US 10-year Treasury yield at this level since 2008.
Yeah, that is a huge statistic, Mike. And looking at that weekly chart here, like it says, 2008, and you can go all the way back here on the chart to 2007, 2008, and we're kind of hitting that little peak there that happened in June of '08. So very interesting, Mike. I cannot believe that this is getting so overextended. And I know a lot of people are trying to capitalize off of some of this upwards movement by talking about some of the ETFs, but guys, I mean, this is getting really overextended. At some point, this is going to have to slow down, but I'll be honest, Mike, the Feds have indicated that it's not going to slow down until we start to see inflation fall back. And a lot of people are thinking that might be within maybe the first, second, or third quarter of next year. So it's going to be a tough go with the market. The SPY did not like that today. Like you said, that was the big reason why we fell. And I just can't wait to see what happens tomorrow if we're going to finally have that move down or if we're going to bounce back up, because it's a pretty big support. And I think those yields heading into tomorrow are going to be the big things to watch, obviously, just like they were today. I'm sure if this thing continues up tomorrow, you're going to see some pretty crazy headlines about even higher levels in 2008 that we're reaching. So it's getting rough out there, Mike. I hope the market can turn around. And, you know, we do have more big earnings coming up over the next few weeks. So maybe we still can, bring the market back from the dead, I should say.
Yeah, and like what was nice to see is like over the past week or so, the SPY and just stocks overall have been trying to bounce. But if we continue to see yields moving like they are, we're not going to see much bouncing. I'll say that. So, like, maybe in like a bad way to the downside, but we'll see. Yields are very important right now. Keep them on your radar. But Tom, looking at the heat map today, looking at the market overall, it was a lot of red. What caught my eye is that like these big tech stocks like Microsoft, Google, Apple, and Amazon actually held up fairly well. Most of the red was just in a lot of other industries, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can see down here, some of the actually slower moving stocks like KO, Procter and Gamble ended up going down 1.57%, which is actually a pretty bad day for Coca-Cola, Mike. But then we have other ones like McDonald's. It was just very mixed across the board, like you said. Obviously, Tesla was the big mover down today. And I did notice on my watch list that to the downside, there was actually a ton of clean energy plays like ChargePoint, Enphase, stocks like that were really falling down, and we started to see, for some reason, those stocks really drop off. Enphase actually came back up into the positive, but ChargePoint had a terrible day, down 5%. And look at how it's moving down to yearly lows, Mike. Unfortunately, I've been seeing a lot of stocks do this lately, and it's starting to make me worry a little bit, and some are just continuing to go.
For sure. So over the past week or so, we've been seeing an uptick in earnings reports, right? And next week will be even more crazy. But what's the schedule looking like for the rest of the week?
Yeah, so for the rest of this week, Mike, we have Snapchat tonight and then Verizon and American Express tomorrow. We will go over next week's earnings in Sunday night's video, so make sure to check that out on Sunday night. But Verizon will be pretty big for tomorrow, Mike. I know that they've recently had a pretty big downtrend here on the daily chart, and they are extremely oversold. So if they report good numbers, they might be able to pop up a little bit. And I will say AT&T today was very surprising. They actually flew up quite a bit, up 7.72%. Hopefully that means good things are to come for Verizon.
Yeah, so looking at Snapchat, who actually reported in after hours today, they are just tanking off. It has been a horrible year for Snapchat stock. And they're, like I said, they're just tanking off in after hours. A couple quick bullet points. They actually announced a $500 million buyback, which is normally a good thing. But the problem is they are just really struggling to grow and just adapt, honestly. So they're just really struggling. They're expecting flat growth for their Q4 revenue. So that's not good. And it's just like, in my opinion, they're just really struggling to adapt. So it's been brutal for Snap.
Yeah, it really has. And that's a terrible downtrend, Mike, all the way down to $8.36. Look at how low that is on the daily chart, guys. We're going all the way back now to COVID lows, and it's honestly almost right there. So we'll have to see if maybe that can hold up as support, but it's going crazy, Mike. And yeah, like I said before, there's a lot of stocks running down to lows right now. And here's another one, guys, with Snapchat. So terrible to see. I hate to see that with their earnings. I was honestly hoping that they would go up, Mike, but kind of getting into some plays for tomorrow. I will say I'm watching Roblox. They've actually been holding up quite well this week. They have a huge resistance up here around $44, and they have decent support right at 41. So I'm going to watch this for a possible move up or down. If they break below that 41 support, I think we might see a bit of a sell-off. So watch for that, but I really hope to see them break out here. They were actually very strong today, despite a lot of red across the board. And if they break above 44, I think we might see an extended move up.
Awesome. One stock I was really watching is Shopify still. Shopify had a decent day today, up just under 5%, and they were really booming at market open. They were up like 8 or 10% at one point, so that was awesome. But Shopify stock is very oversold in the daily chart. It's down significantly from highs. It's still relatively low, and there's a lot of room to pop back up. So there's a lot of opportunity in that sense. Shopify has a long history of great moves and just good movement for like short-term trading. So that's awesome. And another thing is that they are showing some awesome relative strength in the sense of like we're seeing many other stocks down today in the red, but Shopify, like I said, like they actually had a really good day and they closed up around 5% even with all of the other whack movement going on.
Yeah, another really strong mover today. I like them, Mike, and hopefully they can keep moving up here. I know we talked about him yesterday, and we actually had a pretty good pop today. So good call out from yesterday, Mike. We could have actually capitalized pretty well if you guys would have played maybe a breakout up above 28.50 or something like that. But another one for tomorrow is actually Costco for me, Mike. looking at the 5-minute chart here, going back over the past few weeks, I've noticed a ton of bounces here, right around 462.50. That is actually held up as support 3 or 4 times here. So I'm going to be watching for a possible bounce back up. Obviously, though, if the SPY sells off and we start breaking below like 462 even, I think that we could maybe see a move back down. So I will be watching this one for a move up. If we break above like 466, if we move down, I will be watching for a break below 462. But I think that's a pretty big support, Mike. Costco is a pretty good stock, and hopefully we see a bounce.
Good stuff. One play I'm really watching is Apple, and unfortunately, it's to the downside, or I guess you can say fortunately. And check this out. So intraday, Apple has bounced quite a few times off of that 142 level yesterday, the day before that, and even sometimes last week. So 142 has been a pretty big support lately. We're still slightly above that, but if Apple breaks below that level, it can definitely slide right through it. So it's definitely in my watch list for tomorrow and maybe even on Monday. You know, if we see some weakness in the market and we see Apple at that 142 level, it's very possible for this one to slide right through it.
Yeah, and we have a little bit of like lower highs going on the intraday chart. I think that's a pretty good call out for tomorrow, Mike, especially with all the negative movement that we saw in the market today. And same thing, like just like we're saying with Apple, Apple's on support and SPY's on support. So if we see SPY break lower, I'm sure Apple will probably end up going down too. So watch out for it, guys. It's going to be crazy, and Apple's going to be really crazy over the next couple weeks as they report earnings.
You know it. Tom, it is now time for the momentum plays. With the first one, we have CCL to the upside.
CCL, yeah, this actually has a really good resistance up here, right around 825. If they can break above that, watch for a nice breakout back up and maybe scalp some calls there.
Sounds great. With the next one, we have DAL to the downside.
Delta Airlines, yeah, that was a pretty bad pullback today, actually. That's actually a really good triple bottom here on the intraday chart. If they end up breaking below $32 even, watch for a big drop down. That has been a huge level. I mean, look at that. That's like 5 bounces the past 4 days.
Yeah, that's true. We definitely got to keep this one on watch for tomorrow. And then with the next one, we have Meta also to the downside.
Yeah, unfortunately. Oh my gosh, Mike, look at this one down with Snapchat in after hours, obviously, because they're both kind of in that ad revenue type of sector here, but terrible move by Meta tonight, all the way down almost to recent lows. I would say, Mike, if they break below that low down there, right around 122.50, then play it down. But this one's going to be extremely volatile. Maybe watch for a little bounce back up. If you see a bounce up tomorrow and maybe we confirm off of 127, kind of like right here, we might see like a bit of a move back up, confirm off of that, and then maybe another retest of lows. If you see that move, I think that could be a pretty good play.
Perfect. Yeah, and thanks for the drawings too, Tom. Awesome. So we are watching Meta and DAL for potential day trades to the downside tomorrow, only if they break below the levels Tom listed. And then we are watching CCL for a potential day trade to the upside tomorrow, only if it breaks above the level Tom listed. If you guys are looking for daily options alerts, check out that first link in the description and the comments down below. Our bot sniped the Meta 136 strike calls today. It called it out at $266 and it popped all the way up to $320 very shortly after. So basically, the bot calls out options alerts every single day. We also have a swing plays channel. We have a bunch of custom bots you won't find anywhere else. We have a private community where you can chat with Tom and myself all day long and a bunch of other great traders. Bonus setups, and you can cancel at any time, and we have an automatic discount running. 8 out of the past 10 bot plays have just popped in an awesome way. The bot's been on fire. Definitely try it out, especially if you're into short-term trading and you're into options. It's awesome. Definitely check it out. It'll be that first link in the description and the comments down below. But Tom, it's now time for the $468,000 unusual options trade from today. So I was looking through the order flow and I came across Walmart, and basically today we saw some whale open up a big position in the 110 strike call options that expire on January 17th of 2025. That's far out. I know it's far out, but the more I look into this trade, it's actually pretty smart. We're in a economy right now where some stocks are getting affected a lot more than others, and Walmart has actually done very well in the previous recession, and it will likely do well in future recessions just due to the nature of their business. It's like even if we had a horrible recession, Walmart would probably do better than the average stock out there. So and Walmart's already kind of low as it is. Plus the calls are pretty deep in the money and have time. It's a pretty smart trade.
Yeah, I like it, Mike. And honestly, on the daily chart, this is a pretty good setup. I know it's trying to fill this gap back to the upside. I am really kind of liking here how, as far as like the trend lines go, it's kind of bouncing off this 128 support. We have a nice triple bottom. I've seen this setup happen a lot of times, Mike, where the stock gaps up, consolidates down like this, and then, eventually starts to possibly move back up. So watch for that move, guys. I think we possibly might fill that gap towards 146 eventually. So watch Walmart. Like you said, Mike, they do a lot better during recessions than a lot of other stocks do. When I went back to 2008, it was actually very surprising how flat Walmart was, especially considering everything else was down. You could look at a lot of stocks that were down 50% plus at that time. So it's insane, Mike, but I'm glad to see that Walmart's on the list, and it's looking really strong intraday on the 5-minute chart, almost like a nice triple top here.
Exactly. So overall, it's been a pretty good trading week so far. Tomorrow's the last day of the week, obviously, with yields moving the way they are. All I'm going to say is it's going to be volatile. So keep a close eye on those yields, I should say. The market's at a weird point right now where it's like we're at some support levels, but at the same time, there's not a ton of momentum to the upside. So it's going to be crazy tomorrow. Tom, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, like you said, Mike, we're at a crucial support on the SPY. I'm really going to be watching for that possible breakdown or break up. I think that might kind of dictate where we go tomorrow. And I think that move might happen pretty early on. I know that we've been seeing some pretty big moves in pre-market and after hours lately. I wouldn't be surprised if maybe American Express, Snapchat going down, and possibly Verizon might affect the market too. So watch for those moves, guys. It's going to be crazy. And I think, Mike, we might end up falling down tomorrow, but I hope that's not the case. I hate to say that, but we have to take what the market gives us, and you have to capitalize off that downwards movement too.
Exactly. There's opportunity in both directions. So I'm excited for tomorrow. I just want to give a giant shout out to today's member of the day, Rizox, in the Stocked Up Discord channel. You joined a couple months ago and your activity has definitely been increasing lately. So definitely keep it up. If you guys are new to the channel, definitely subscribe. We post brand new videos every single day, and check out that first link in the description in the comments down below to trade with our bot for options alerts every single day. It is awesome, and we have a discount code running. Also, check out this video on the screen right now. It goes in depth more into what is really driving the market and what you need to know over the next couple weeks, because the volatility is just starting.